Hello, you've reached the Podcast Addiction Support Hotline. Are you or anyone you love in immediate danger of listening to a podcast?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna listen to one today.
And do you have a support group around or anyone who you can turn to?
No, I don't know what to tell you. I got a problem. I'm listening every day to a podcast, and I can't even help it.
And how many podcasts do you have a problem with?
It's just one. It's just one, but it's every day, man. It's every day.
What's the name of it?
It's the Daily Solutions podcast.
The Daily Solutions Podcast again. I should have known. Kids on the streets listening to it every single day. I get more calls every day about them than anyone else. I don't know what to tell you. You're on your own. We can't help.
All right, welcome everybody.
Hello.
Woo!
I'm Graham.
I'm Ashkahn.
And today's question is my water out of level? I always float to the same side of my pod. At first, I thought it was subtle waves interacting with my symmetry, so I flipped 180 degrees and ended up right back on the same side of the tank.
Well, okay. So water can't be out of level. It's naturally leveling. Like if you had water in a glass and you tilted your glass right and left in any direction, like the top of the water is always going to stay level. It's, liquids.
Yeah, so physically impossible for your water to be out of level. But, I mean, I get, so what if it's, can it affect how waves are kind of generated, or a little, someone's kind of moving, like the wave machines when they go up on shore, all of a sudden you have cresting little salt waves.
Like there's something in the back of the float tank, generate, a little wall pushing back and forth and
you're
create, a
kind
wave
of
machine.
The wave generator in this case,
But the waves would also be level. They'd be on the surface of the water.
But if it's tilted to one...
I don't know.
Okay, so here's what I think is going
happening.
on. Yeah. So there are different reasons that you drift to the side of the tank. I do actually think that personal physical asymmetry could very well be one of them, if your back's really tight. But if you're turning around and you're going...
You'd have to be pushing off of something.
Yeah, or
contort
just
your body in there.
Slightly drifting, yeah.
At the point that you're still... You could be still in any position and remain still, even if your body was off balance. It's not going to cause you to drift.
See, I don't know. The way when you're when you're breathing and different things like that, you're naturally generating small currents inside the water.
Sure.
So
I just think all that compared to what we're about to say is the thing. I think all of this is way, way, way more subtle. And
okay, what were you ready? We'll say what we think it is at the same time. All right. 3,
it's probably
2. Yeah, I was going to do a countdown. 3, 2, 1.
It's your heaters. It's probably your heaters. Is what's going on
here. One of the
here.
heaters is off center, or
because that creates
generating.
That can create these kind of convection currents in the water, and so if you're floating in there, and if there's 2 heaters in the float tank, or however the heater is set up is kind of installed in the bottom, around the sides, whatever it is, if those are not on symmetrically, then that's going to create something that's going to kind of continuously edge you towards one side of the float tank or the other.
Yep. So maybe it's the physical placement is not quite centered. Maybe if it's 2 heaters, one is getting more power than another.
Or it's just that sometimes 2 heaters have 2 separate thermostats, and one is reading at a fine temperature and doesn't think it needs to be turned on, and the other one is reading at a temperature where it does think it needs to be turned on.
Yep. And even if it's just one kind of solid heater or built-in heating element going throughout the tank, that can also just be certain coils in different areas getting hotter than other ones and causing this imbalance too, depending on how it's set up.
Yeah, so my guess is that is probably, I think, the only thing that would really significantly make you continuously drift to one side of the tank or the other.
Yeah, but especially again if it's the exact same side, kind of regardless of orientation or anything else. If you're always going to the east side of the tank, not left or right, then I think that's a good sign that.
And at the point that you're still, I even think differences in your body, and I don't know, my breathing pattern I found is not specifically edged me towards anything. For me to really move in the float tank, I have to slightly push off a wall or in general create some more significant movement.
See, and I've talked to people who always go over to the left side of the tank, regardless of whether it's east or west.
Of any tank? They just always scoot over to the left side?
Exactly. That was this is the conversation that I had with them. I don't know.
All right. Well, it's probably here. The way this person described it.
Just one of the many things I don't know about, to be fair.
So check your heaters out.
Yeah.
I mean, the easiest thing to do is when you're in the float tank, just like put your hands on the bottom or the sides. Like you'll be able to feel if the heater's on or not. Like if you have two heaters, you put your hands down and you'll feel one warm and one not. So you don't have to like tear your floater tank apart to check this.
And I guess as long as we're on the subject of heaters and convection currents, it is one reason that I like heaters around the outside of the tank or around even the inner outside if it's on the bottom or something like that. Like this idea of being able to heat from the sides and kind of push the currents inwards.
Yeah.
Is really a nice idea, as opposed to, on the other side having kind of like one centered heater in the center of the bottom of the tank. Feels like it's most likely to kind of generate these currents that hit the top and the center and sort of push off towards the sides in some direction. So
yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's pros. I find if the tank's real big and it has heaters only around the side, like I can feel it's warmer if I get closer to the side of a tank than when I'm in the middle. Mm-hmm. As opposed to if the heaters are under, then all that hot water is kind of rising out from right under you, which is nice.
And there's like the ocean float room, I guess, that just has like the entire tub is built in with a heating element.
Yeah, like a heating
so
grid
kind of,
thing around the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it just kind of heats evenly around the entire tub, which I think helps with things like that.
Yeah, but having something like just a single strip of heater right directly under you is, I guess, probably not typically what float manufacturers do, because usually they're doing, if it's on the bottom, they're kind of putting them slightly out towards the middle so that it does
having two of them or something like that.
Yeah, it does kind of like
a single one underneath.
Help center you, or if it's around the edges, then that it does a better effect of centering you.
All right.
Yeah.
So water always levels itself.
That's the lesson for today.
All right. And if you have any more questions, go to floattanksolutions.com/podcast.
/podcast.
And we'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Bye.